Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step an almond stitch slouchy hat. This video has been uploaded only for channel's sponsors, so please do not share the video. And this is October's pattern with a small delay. Okay, so what we're going to see in a few minutes, we're going to see the yarn that I'm going to use and the crochet hook. Also, we're going to see, using an equation, how to adjust the gauze that I make, how to adjust it to work in any size that you want. Even though I have posted a chart with the yarn, the chains, and the number of rows that you're going to need for each size, you might want to crochet with a different weight of yarn and a different crochet hook. So the equation that we're going to see in a few seconds, it's going to help you to adjust with any yarn and crochet hook that you're going to choose to crochet with. So let's go ahead and start. Before we start, I want to show the yarn and the crochet hook that I used. So we're using Alize Lana Gold, which is a medium weight yarn. It's 51% acrylic, 49% wool. It's 3.53 ounces and 262 yards each skein. And I'm using a 5mm crochet hook. Now before we start, I want to show how I got my stitches, just in case you want to adjust to a different size, a different yarn, because I know Alize does not exist in all countries, okay? So all the measurements that I have all apply to a sample that I made, and this is my gauge, to know with how many stitches I will have to start and how many rows I will have to work in order to get the total width that I want. So for this hat, the total beginning chains are going to be the height of my hat. So when you wear your hat, it's going to be looking like this. The stitches are going to be coming down vertically, and the total rows that you're going to crochet is the total width of your head. So it's the part that's going to wrap around your head. Okay, so I'm crocheting for women's size, and the head circumference is 54 centimeters to 57 centimeters, or 21 to 22.5 inches. Now my hat circumference, I want it to be about 4 to 5 centimeters smaller. So for a women's size, the head circumference, I want it to be 49 to 52 centimeters, or 19 to 20.5 inches. And the total height, I want it to be 22 centimeters, or 8.6 inches. The rule for the almond stitch that I'm going to use is multiples of 5 plus 1. And my gauge is 10 stitches, give me 6.5 centimeters, or 2.5 inches. And 8 rows give me 6 centimeters, or 2.3 inches. And my rule has repetition of rows 1 through 4. Now, let's see how I got the total height. So I know that 10 stitches equal to 6.5 centimeters. Okay, so my total height is 22 centimeters, but I don't know how many stitches I'm going to need for my 22 centimeters. Okay, so this is my equation. Remember math? I know a lot of us hate math, but this is how you always get your beginning chains for any project that you want to make once you have made your gauge. So this is how your gauge applies to whatever size you want to adjust, okay? So in this equation, I want to find my X, because I do not know how many stitches that I need to start my row with. So I'm going to multiply the top part with the bottom part of the other side of my equation, and the centimeters with the stitches over here. Okay, so once I multiply those two numbers together, I get 6.5 centimeters times X stitches equal, multiply those two numbers together, 220 centimeters times stitches. So what we learned in algebra is that we want to have this x on this side by itself. So because I'm using multiplication on both sides, the way to get rid of the numbers on the one side of the equation and on the other is to work division. Okay, so I'm going to divide, and because I want x to be by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 6.5 centimeters times stitches. Divide this number as well. Whatever you do on the one side of the equal sign, you wanted to do it on the other side as well. This is why it's called an equation. Divided by 6.5 centimeters times stitches on the other side as well. So we get rid of the centimeters on the one side, get rid of the centimeters and stitches on the other side. So x equals 220 divided by 6.5, and it's equal to 33.8 stitches. These were the stitches that I was looking for. So because I can't have a decimal number as a number of stitch, I'm going to round to the closest whole number. So I'm going to need 34 stitches to get those 22 centimeters. Now, because my rule states that I want a multiple of 5, 34 is not a multiple of 5. If you divide 34 divided by 5, again, you're going to get a decimal number. So I want to round to the next whole number that applies with my rule. So I'm going to need 35 stitches, 35 chains to start with, plus 1, because my rule says so. But because I want it to be a slouchy hat, I'm going to add 10 chains to this number. So I'm going to start my hat with 45 plus 1 chains. So I'm going to start with 46 chains. So this is the total length of my hat. Okay, these are the chains that we're going to start with. And this is how my gauge helps. Now we're going to see how many rows we're going to need in order to reach right here, the 52 centimeters. Okay, so I know that 8 rows equal 6 centimeters. How many rows do I need in order to reach 52 centimeters? So again, my equation, I'm going to multiply the denominator on the one side with the denominator of the other side, and the denominator on the one side of my equation with the denominator of the other side. So this equals 52 times 8 equals, so 416 centimeters times rows equals 6 centimeters times x rows. Okay, so again, I want my x to be on the one side by itself. So whatever I do on the one side of my equal sign, I wanted to do it on the other side as well. So I want the x to be by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6 centimeters times rows. 6 centimeters times rows. So this, we get rid of the centimeters and the rows on this side as well. So I have x by itself on the one side, and 416 divided by 6 equals 69.3. So because I can't work 69.3 rows, I want to round to the next whole number. So I'm going to need 70 rows in order to reach my 52 centimeters or 20.5 inches. Okay, so what's important, I mentioned that we want to round to the next whole number. You could also round to 69 rows, but the thing is that in order to get your almond shaped over here, you have to work 2 rows every time. So the next whole number that you want to round to, you want the number to be an even number, okay? So enough with the math, but this applies to any work, to any stitch that you want to adjust the gauge, to adjust it on the measurements that you need, okay? So I'm going to need 46 chains to start with and 70 rows to get the total width that I want for my head circumference. So let's start. I have already started with my 46 chains. Okay. And what we're going to be doing in this stitch is we're going to be working 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 stitches, 5 half double crochet, and so on. So I'm going to skip the first chain, and starting from the second chain from my hook, I'm going to start with my 5 slip stitches in a row. 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and 5. My next stitches are going to be 5 half double crochet. So yarn over once, put your hook in the next chain, and work 5 half double crochet in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again work 5 slip stitches starting from the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again 5 half double crochet starting from the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So keep repeating the pattern by working 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet. Once I finish my second before last set, which is going to be 5 half double crochet, I'm going to turn my video back on to work the last 5 slip stitches together. I've worked my second before last set, okay, and I've worked the 5 half double crochet. Now I'm going to work my last 5 stitches, which are going to be 5 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so this is how my work looks like at the end of row 1, and this is the first row of repetitions. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work to start the second row of repetitions, and this is the wrong side of my work. Now from here on, every time that we're going to crochet either slip stitches or half double crochet, we always want to grab the back loop. So if I put my hook in regularly in the stitch, this is the front loop and this is the back loop right over here. So if you're looking your work not from the front but from the top, you can see those little braids that are my stitches. Okay, this is the top part, this is the front loop and the back loop. So you're putting your hook in between and you're grabbing the back loop every time. back loop, back loop, the back loop, and so on. So the repetitions of row number 2 are: everywhere I have a slip stitch, I work a slip stitch, and everywhere I have a half double crochet, I'm working a half double crochet again. So I'm going to start by working 5 slip stitches in a row. Okay, and I'm going to be holding my hook like this so it's easier for you to see where I'm putting my hook. Okay, in the back loops only. 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And remember, it's easier when you're looking your work from the top. Now the next 5 stitches are going to be 5 half double crochet. Now a half double crochet because every time you work this stitch you're pulling through 3 loops. It's the only stitch that has 3 loops that you can work into. This is the front loop, the center loop, and the back loop that's up here. So sometimes when we work regularly in the stitches, some people think that we're working on the back loops of the half double crochet, which we're actually working in the correct stitch, like we're working right in the stitch correctly, okay? We're not grabbing back loops. So this is when you have put your hook in regularly in the stitch. This is the front loop, this is the back loop, and this is the loop that we want to be grabbing every time. Okay, so when you're looking your work from the top, this right here is the back loop of the half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, my next 5 stitches are going to be 5 slip stitches, again grabbing the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My next 5 stitches are going to be 5 half double crochet, working in the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So keep repeating the pattern. 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet. Once I reach my last 5 slip stitches, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've worked my second before last set of 5 half double crochet, and now this is my last set of 5 slip stitches. Always work in the back loops of your work. One, 2, 3, 4, and because the 5th stitch, the last stitch, is not that visible, just pull outwards your stitches, and this is the last back loop. 5. Okay, this was the end of row 2 and the end of the second row of repetitions. Now we're going to go ahead and start the third row of repetitions by chaining 2. 1, 2. And the reason that I'm chaining 2 instead of 1 is because I'm going to start by working half double crochet. those 2 chains do not count as a stitch. It's only a help to go to the next row. Okay, so 2 chains and turn your work. Now this is the good side again, and see how my stitch has started to look like an almond. This is what's called the almond stitch. Now in the repetitions of row 3 and row 4, wherever I have a slip stitch, now I'm going to work a half double crochet, and everywhere I have a half double crochet, I'm going to work a slip stitch. Okay, so starting row number 3, I'm going to start with 5 half double crochet, working in the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so since I started with 5 half double crochet, my next 5 stitches are going to be 5 slip stitches. And see how I'm working the slip stitches on top of the half double crochet that I worked in the 2 previous rows? Again, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next 5 stitches are going to be 5 half double crochet in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So keep working the pattern: 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, and when I reach the end where I'm going to have to work my 5 half double crochet, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've worked the second before last set, which was a 5 slip stitches, and I'm going to finish my row with 5 half double crochet. Okay, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this was the end of row 3, and this is the third row of repetitions. Now chain 2, 1, 2 to start row number 4, which is the last row of repetitions. Turn your work. Again, the 2 chains do not count as a stitch. Okay, so now I've completed my row with 5 half double crochet. So row number 4, I'm going to start with 5 half double crochet again. Okay, starting from my first stitch, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next 5 stitches are going to be 5 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next 5 stitches are going to be half double crochet, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So keep repeating the pattern: 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, and once I reach the last 5 stitches that are going to be 5 half double crochet, I'm going to turn my video to see how to continue. I'm almost done with my row. Now I'm going to work my 5 slip stitches, my 5 half double crochet, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, and my last stitch 5. This was the end of row 4 and the last row of repetitions. Okay, this is the wrong side. This is the good side of our work. Okay, so now we're going to start again by repeating row number 1. So what did we do in row number 1? We started with a chain 1, turn your work, and the first 5 stitches in row number 1 were 5 slip stitches. Again, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next 5 stitches were 5 half double crochet, back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next 5 stitches are going to be 5 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so keep repeating the pattern. 5 half double crochet, 5 slip stitches, 5 half double crochet, slip stitches, half double crochet, and the last stitches are going to be 5 slip stitches. I've reached the last set of 5, which are going to be 5 slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what we can see, again, by beginning the repetitions of row number 1, the slip stitches are aligned with the slip stitches that are in row number 1 and 2. The almonds that are in row number 1 are aligned with the ones that I just started. Okay, again, the almonds of row number 1 are aligned with the ones that I just started. So go ahead and finish the 70 rows of camera. We've worked 5 rows together. We need 65 more for a women's size. And what I did is I started again repetitions from row number 1. Okay, so row number 2, again, I'm going to work slip stitches in the same spots that I have my slip stitches and half double crochet in the same spots that I have half double crochet. When we do the repetitions of row number 3 and 4, where the almonds are going to be aligned with the ones in rows 3 and 4, okay, you're going to start with 2 chains, and wherever we have slip stitches, we're going to work half double crochet, and wherever we have half double crochet, you're going to work slip stitches. So keep repeating rows 1 through 4 for a total of 70 rows. Once I finish my 70 rows, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I've worked my 70 rows, and this is how my work looks from the bottom going to the top. What I did after my last stitch is I worked the chain, leave a long tail on your yarn, and cut it, and pull the loop. Okay, pull your loop. Fast enough. Okay, and what we're going to do now, this is the good side of my work because I can see the almonds, and this is the wrong side. So fold your work in half. Okay, bring the yarn on the bottom. I'm going to put a blank piece of paper in the center so it's easier for me to see where I'm stitching. And what we're going to do now is we're going to join the two sides by sewing them together. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to put my needle from the inside to the outside on the first stitch of the right side, and from the inside to the outside on the first stitch of the left side, and I'm going to close those two stitches together. Now again on the right side, put your needle on the second stitch from the inside to the outside, and on the inside to the outside on the second stitch on the left side. Okay, now again go onto the right side. Put your needle on the third stitch from the back to the front, and on the left side from the back to the front on the third stitch as well. And close those two stitches together. Okay, now after you have stitched together about 2 to 3 stitches, grab your corner and tighten up your yarn. So keep stitching the same stitches going from the back to the front on the right side to the back to the front on the left side in the same stitch, and do that for a total of 45 stitches. Once I finish joining the two sides together, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close the top part of our hat. I've completed sewing all of my stitches from the bottom to the top. Okay, now let's go ahead and see the good side, how it looks like. Okay, so this is where I've joined, right over here, and see how the joining is invisible. And the reason it is invisible is because when we were stitching on the one side and on the other, we were putting our needle from the back to the front on the one side, from the back to the front on the other side, from the back to the front on the one side. And this is why the scheme over here, the joining is invisible. So what we're going to do now, turn your work again on the inside out. And what we're going to do now is we're going to sew 2 knots. One and one more. And the reason that we sew 2 knots is because with the same yarn we're going to continue to work around on the top of our head, and because we're going to be pulling the yarn to tighten up the stitches together, we want to make sure that the stitches down here won't tighten up as well, and we're going to destroy our head. So make sure you sew 2 knots. And now let's go ahead and start to join, to pull up all the stitches together up here. So what we're going to be doing is put your hook from the front to the back in the one stitch, from the back to the front of the next stitch. Okay, from the front to the back on the next stitch, from the back to the front in the next stitch, and now pull together those stitches. Okay, just pull them together. Now go ahead in the next stitch from the back to the front, next stitch from the front to the back, next stitch from the front to the back, next stitch from the back to the front. Okay, now pull the yarn and pull those stitches together. So as you go through, make sure you pull all your stitches together. Once I finish closing the whole hat all around, I'm going to turn my video to see how to continue. I've completed sewing to close all my stitches together, and see how I still have a small hole in the center, and that's because we have a total of 70 rows and it's hard to close all the stitches together, because if you keep pulling very tight, your yarn is going to break. So this is how it looks on the good side. Okay, up here. So what we want to do is go ahead and sew a few more times. Okay, right here on the hole, grab the one side of the hole, grab the other side as well, and close those two sides together. Do that a few times all around so the hole in the center has closed completely. I've worked the stitches and now the center is totally closed, is completely closed over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work a knot to make sure that the stitches that I've worked won't come apart. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my needle on the front, on the good side of my hat. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust this pom-pom. This is how I bought it. Well, those pom-poms have a nice loop down here. This is a loop I've made because I had put it on a hat that I've made for my daughter with this yarn, and because the yarn was bothering her on her skin, I frogged the hat, I took out the pom-pom, but because the loop was destroyed, I made my own loop on the pom-pom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle through that loop and sew it again to the center of my hat. Now what I want to do is I want to go a few times on the inside to the outside all around my hat through the loop of the pom-pom to make sure it's nice adjusted, okay, tightly adjusted, because if it's loose, your pom-pom is going to be moving back and forth. So you want to make sure that it's pretty tight, staying nice on the hat. So once I finish attaching the pom-pom, I'm going to turn my video back on to finish our hat by working a few rows down here just to make sure it doesn't get loose. Okay, we want to work a few rows down here to keep the stitches nice together. I've completed attaching my pom-pom. I'm going to sew a knot just to make sure my stitches won't loosen up. Now make sure you weave in your ends on the inside of the stitches back here. I've completed weaving my ends. I've completed my hat so far, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work 2 rows of single crochet to make sure the bottom of my hat doesn't get loose. Okay, so I have a total of 70 rows. That means that I'm going to work a total of 70 stitches. So attach your yarn at any stitch. Okay, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, chain 1, and work 1 single crochet in that same stitch. So what we want to do is crochet 1 single crochet on the first stitch of every row. So 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch. Once I finish my row, I'm going to have a total of 70 stitches. Make sure you do not crochet very tight. You want to crochet in the same strength that you used for the rest of the hat. Once I finish my 70 stitches, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed my first row of single crochet. I have 70 stitches. Put your hook in the first stitch for this row, slip stitch, chain 1, and starting from the first single crochet again, work 70 stitches, and this is the second and last row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting up until you have 70 stitches all around. I've completed working my 70 stitches. Now put your hook in the first single crochet for this row, slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, and fasten off. Okay, weaving your end on the inside of the stitches over here, and our slouchy hat is ready. Okay, this is how it looks like. Now, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out in the About section of the video to find the written pattern. Please do not share the pattern or the video because it's made just for the channel's sponsors. So please do not share the video because you are the only ones that will have the link to it. I would love to read your feedback under the video if you liked it. I would also like to see if you liked the written instructions. Thanks again for watching and stay tuned for the next month's video.